Trump's tariffs aren't what you think. Now, this is 4D chess, and the Mar-a-Lago Accords are the real play. Now, yes, it starts with tariffs, then trade, but it goes way deeper. We're talking about global alliances, financial warfare, and a full-scale reset of the world order. Now, if you miss this, you're going to miss the biggest geopolitical and financial shift of our lifetime, and of course, the chance to front-run all of this. Now, this fits perfectly into the cycle thesis I've been making videos about for the last 5 years. But what I just uncovered shocked even me. By the end of this video, you're going to see how tariffs were just the bait and how Trump may have hijacked the global monetary system without firing a single shot. Now, this video may be one of the biggest videos and theses I've laid out maybe in years. So let's go. All right, we're going to jump right in and just get right to this, but I do want to let you know that this may be one of the biggest videos, the biggest thesis that I've put out in a long time. Now, if you watch my videos regularly, you know that I love history and it's being made right now. I'm going to bring it back to some historical context, but listen, this is big, all right? Stick with me. I'm going to go through this really quickly. There's a lot of details that I could go into, all these rabbit holes. If you want any more of this, want me to double click and go deeper on any of these, leave it in the comments down below. And I do want to just say, just note, put your political biases and ideologies at the door, okay? Let's think through facts here. Let's use historical reference I'm going to bring to you. And we need to zoom out so we can see the whole geopolitical chessboard here. What happens is when you're looking at one little thing, you miss what's going on. It's like when my kids ask me if they could do something or have something, and I tell them no. They think I'm mean because of that situation, but they don't have the perspective and the plan that I have. And so I want you to keep that in mind. This is going to be big. Let's jump into it. Okay, so what the world is seeing right now, it's all over the news, is the chaos and the confusion. The erratic behavior of President Trump. He's rash. He just says things off the cuff, which are true. But they think that there's all this erratic policy, and it's created a lot of chaos, which it has. So we have erratic policy. The policies that he's thrown out have been bad. Well, let me say, I don't want to say they've been bad. They've looked bad in the short term. The week that Trump pushed the global economy to the brink of what? The brink of collapse with tariffs, and then he pulled back. So he pushed really hard, he almost crashed the whole world, and then he just changed his mind. Is that really what's going on? Let's dive deeper into this. And again, put your politics at the door. Let's look at the facts. Now, this is what I'm talking about. We see the NASDAQ crashing, a little bounce. We thought we were going to get a deal. It didn't. And then crashing. Now, these are big gaps that we had right here. But then look at that reversal right there. So push the brink to the collapse, and then he just reversed. Now, why? Well, we have all types of people in the media saying he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's very rash, all of these things, and that he caved. So what am I talking about he caved? Well, he put out this on True Social, which then went on to X and Twitter, and he said, because of the lack of respect China has shown to the world's markets, I'm hereby raising the tariff charge to China to 125% effective immediately. So Trump put tariffs on the world, he put them on China. China retaliated and added 35%. So then Trump said, hey, if you don't remove that, I'll give you till, I think it was like April 8th or 9th. If you don't remove that, I'm going to add another 50%. So we added more. China said, okay, then we'll go to 84%. And he said, fine, then we'll go to 125%. But that's not all. So he started talking about this. This is what almost everybody seemed to miss. So he started talking about that. And then he said, so I'm adding more to China, but conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries around the world have already called and started to try to work out deals with the United States, that he's going to drop that. Now, he says that conversely, what he says, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have already called the United States and started trying to work out deals, he said that at his strong suggestion, they have not retaliated in any way, like China did. They've been trying to work out deals. So for them, we're going to go into a 90-day pause and a much, much lower reciprocal tariff. So the whole world, super aggressive. China tries to ratchet up and retaliate, escalate, which they did. And what Trump does is says, okay, fine. Then everyone else, we're going to drop it except for China. That's the key piece that we have to listen to, and I'm going to explain why. Now, you've heard this saying, he's playing checkers, but everyone else is playing chess, or he's playing 4D chess. And I hate those cliches, but in this case, I'm going to break down the 4D chess through 4 layers so you can see the whole game board. Now, the point is like, what if these tariffs aren't actually the point? It's not about the tariffs. What if it's the bait to get the second, third, and the fourth layer of chess? That's what I'm going to break down. But in order to put some perspective into this, let's go back in the time machine. Remember this thing? I used to show it all the time. Let's go back in history so we can see the time when these things have happened in the past, so we have a little bit of perspective on what's going on. You know what they say about history: those who don't know it are bound to repeat it, and those who don't know history have no perspective to see the future. So there's a couple times things have happened. Now, you know I love cycles. I was saying that I've been talking about cycles for 5 years. There's 3 revolutionary cycles that are converging at the same time. A 50-year technological cycle, I call it the quantum wave cycle. There's an 80-year financial revolution cycle and a 250-year political revolution cycle, all converging right now. But let's focus on just one right now. It's the 80-year financial revolution cycle. So, for context, in 1944, the world got together and organized something known as the Bretton Woods Agreement. So basically, you had the world come together, most of the world anyway, come together, and they established a fixed exchange rate. So the dollar would be backed by gold, and all the currencies of the world would peg to the US dollar. Thereby, they'd be pegged to gold, and thereby they'd be convertible to gold. Now, this was aimed to promote international and economic cooperation and stability. So instead of each country fighting and trying to do their own trade policies, it's like, let's just bring everyone together and let's get cooperation and stability so the world could have massive prosperity. And it worked. Look where the world went from 1944 until today. Of course, things have fallen apart. Now, a little bit further along, we had something in 1985 called the Plaza Accord. And again, not the whole world, the G5, the top 5 nations in the world got together and again, all agreed together to cooperate to depreciate the US dollar to address what? Trade imbalances. So again, we got together here, things started getting away from us, and so again, we had these massive trade imbalances, sort of like what Trump's talking about right now. And so we need to get these trade imbalances put back together. So let's get together, the G5, and agree that the U.S. will devalue the dollars and thereby strengthen the other currencies, the Japanese yen, the German Dutch mark. Okay, so this is what's happened throughout history. And so is it possible that in a time of trade imbalances and in a time when the world doesn't have economic cooperation and stability, that we need another global meeting and another global cooperation? Okay, let me set the stage on that. Now, okay, so we have basically the board set. Again, some people are playing checkers, some people are playing chess, and Trump is playing 4D chess. Again, I don't like the cliche, but we're going to go with it. Let's look at what the 4 layers are. Okay, so first of all, we have the illusion. It's not real. It's not what everything is focused on. It's not what's really going on, but it's the illusion of the 1D, the one-dimensional. This is the checkers, and that's the tariffs. That's what everyone's focused on. Tariffs are the checkers. And they're saying that that's a surface level narrative, first of all, right? It's too basic in front of us. And because of that, it's fees and it's protectionism. The U.S. is trying to protect itself, which of course he says they are. This is going to create trade wars around the country. It's going to disrupt global supply chains. It's going to cause inflation in the United States. It's going to cause the markets to crash, which, we've been seeing all this. We've been hearing all this. And there's a lot of people, even that I respect, that I follow, analysts that I follow, and they seem to be caught in this 1D frame. It's all tariffs, 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 all the results of tariffs and things like that. Now, I do want to just say one thing. Here's a frame that you have to keep in mind. Everything is about trade-offs. And when you understand that everything's about trade-offs, in order to get more of one, I have to give up more of another. It's a trade-off. And because of that, it's not black and white. There's nuance. And things can be good and bad at the same time. So for example, with tariffs, prices go up. Okay, well that's bad, I have to pay more, but it's good because America's stronger, for example. So it's good and bad at the same time. So remember that. But too many analysts are caught in this 1D frame without seeing 2, 3, and 4. Let's talk about that. But again, that's not strategy. They're just playing checkers. They just see the one dimension. Okay, now let's go to 2D chess. Let's go to the second order effect, or layer 2. And this is to rebuild the U.S. And so, of course, if you're paying attention, you've heard this. Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and even Trump himself have all said as much, that they want to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. And so part of what they want to do is, by the protectionist measures, by adding tariffs, they want to pressure companies to relocate back to the United States. So they've said, Trump said, hey, if you don't want to pay the tariffs, no big deal. Just move your factory to the United States. And so that is part of the big plan. They've all been saying it. And it's not just talk. Again, we have to look at the data. We can see that it's actually working. As a matter of fact, we have over $3 trillion, just since this happened, over $3 trillion have already been committed to coming back and being reinvested in the United States. Or maybe $4 trillion worth of companies moving back in the United States. We have Saudi Arabia, $600 billion, the UAE, $1.4 trillion, Apple, $500 billion, NVIDIA, $100 billion, and we can go on. Oh, so it's working. This is part of the plan. So this is the 2D chess, and some people see this. So the tariffs are the bait. Let's push the prices up, and then let's force companies to come back. Okay, that's good. This is where the average think piece ends. So now people are like, I'm seeing the second order effects, but this is where they end. But Trump's just getting started. Remember, he's not playing 2D or 3D. He's playing 4D. So let's go to the third level. Now what? This is where the global game board starts getting rewritten. So, realignment. Not on goods, not on supply chains, not on products, but we're talking about global alliances. We're talking about where each nation's loyalty and policies align. This is a much bigger deal because if you're not paying attention, the world is breaking apart. That's part of the 250-year political revolution cycle. But as the world breaks apart, we're moving into a tri or a multipolar world, and we have at least two global superpowers, the United States and China, battling out, like two alpha dogs fighting over a bone. And so the real move is we need to make a power move against the adversary if you want to remain in power. And so what we want to do is get a global realignment, and I should say, again, global alliances back to the United States and away from China. So the real move here on the third layer, the 3D chess, is to box China in. And that's exactly what the point of Trump's tweet was. Again, remember, if we pull that back up, we put massive tariffs, unreasonably high tariffs against the entire world. The whole world freaks out. Everyone's thinking about what the heck they're going to do. And then you just drop it on the world, except for you increase it in China. So then it's like, shoot, well, I dodged a bullet. That's good. China, they're still on the bad side, and nobody wants to be aligned with the enemy, right? So if I don't want those tariffs, like I was just freaking out over, my people don't want that, I guess I should side with the United States. And that's the global alignment they're talking about. So then align the rest of the world against China, and specifically create a new trading bloc. So what are you talking about? So the alliances, not just the political alliances, but the trading bloc alliances. So you've been hearing a lot about the BRICS, the BRICS, the BRICS. I've been talking about it. The BRICS is this rising coalition, and it's a trading bloc. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's the BRICS. And then a bunch of other nations are jumping in to be in that trading bloc. And collectively, they're trying to get their might to be very powerful. But out of those countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and a bunch of other smaller ones, who's the biggest? China. So China is building this trading bloc and getting everyone around from the U.S. But the U.S. could now use this to realign the trading bloc back over to the U.S. and isolate China. Are you starting to see it? But look, that's only 3D chess. We're only at the third level. Let's go to one more level deep, and this is the 4D chess. This is the deeper level, and this is what we're calling the Mar-a-Lago Accords. Why Mar-a-Lago Accords? Well, like the Plaza Accords were done at the Plaza Hotel. Mar-a-Lago Accords are being done at Trump's Mar-a-Lago, of course. So what the heck is the Mar-a-Lago Accords? Let's break this down. What is really going on? And then we'll cover what ultimately they want to achieve on this. So number one, control the global money rails. Right? You've heard me say the quote from Kissinger many times: control the food, control the people, control the energy, control the continent, control the money, control the world. So control the global money rails. There's a lot of talk of China and all the gold they're accumulated, and are they going to launch a gold-backed yuan? Are they going to launch a gold-backed cryptocurrency, a CBDC, things like that? Are they going to start trading oil and other things in the yuan and all that? So could we control the money rails and bring all that back to the U.S.? That's the fourth dimension, is money itself. Not trade, not tariffs to get the trade, not just the manufacturing, not just the global alignment, but money itself. That's the fourth level. So tariffs give the leverage, right? That's the first order. Give us the leverage. The manufacturing, bringing the manufacturing back, gives this the foundation. Now there's a strong economic foundation in the United States, which makes America investable again. It's a new term that I'm coining. I'm going to break that down a little bit. And then we box in China. That is the grand strategy here. And the goal is to rewire the global financial system back around the U.S. dollar. The dollar's been the reserve currency of the world, the global exchange of currency, and like I said, the BRICS want to challenge that. China wants to challenge that. And if we want to rewire the entire system back around the U.S. dollar. Trump wants to make America great again. He wants to do a lot of things. But the Mar-a-Lago Accords, as we're calling them, is basically, think of it like this. It's Bretton Woods 2.0, if you will, plus Amazon Prime. What? Bretton Woods plus Amazon Prime plus, unfortunately, Cold War 2.0. Let's break down those points. So this would all be part of Trump's new global deal. So FDR had the New Deal. Trump and then Mar-a-Lago could be the new global deal. Look, this is not unusual for a president to do. FDR did the New Deal, right? Presidents do these things. They lead the Plaza Accords. Nixon, in 71, the Nixon shock just decided to end the Bretton Woods Agreement and pull the dollar off of the gold standard unilaterally, and then severing the ties of the rest of the world to that. Presidents do these things. They do rewrite policy. This is a historical moment, like I talk about 1944 and 1985 and 1971, and here we are today with a new global deal. And what is that? Well, what am I talking about? That's the Bretton Woods. That's the new global deal. What is Amazon Prime? Well, Amazon Prime is that for countries to join, number one, peg their currency to the U.S. dollar. That's the Bretton Woods Agreement. In Bretton Woods, they pegged it to the dollar, which is pegged to gold. So let's get all the countries to come back and peg their currency to the U.S. dollar, number one. Bretton Woods Agreement, the New Deal. Number two, pay for U.S. security. That's Amazon Prime. Membership. Now, this is what Trump's been banging the table on for a long time. The countries in NATO don't pay their fair share. Per the agreement in NATO, each nation was supposed to pay a percentage of their GDP towards this global security. Now, the U.S. has been policing the world and spending lots of money on the military, but each of these nations haven't been putting in their membership. They haven't been paying their amount, and so peg it here, pay your membership or get kicked out of Amazon Prime, pay for U.S. security, and then Cold War 2.0 is then push China over here and make the whole world sort of angle against them and box them in. Now, also part of what was in the Plaza Accord is allow the U.S. dollar to weaken versus the other currencies. So when the world aligns or pegs to the U.S. dollar, we need to allow the U.S. dollar to weaken like we did in the Plaza Accords. It's not unusual. This happens. This has happened over and over and over. Okay, now, the Mar-a-Lago endgame here. Let's talk about really what the endgame is. So Trump has talked about some specific numbers he wants. Number one, restore manufacturing in the United States to 15% of GDP by 2030. I don't think that's an unreasonable number. Not based off of the $3 or maybe $4 trillion we've already got committed. We could certainly get there. Now, there's a lot of myths around tariff, like those are low-level jobs, T-shirts and sneakers. We don't want those back. Can the U.S. really make iPhones? There's a lot of myths around that, and that's a whole nother video. If you want me to break down all those myths, let me know. There's another myth around this, like, well, isn't that a tax on the American consumer? That's another myth. No, it's not a tax on the U.S. consumer. Those tariff fees are not paid by the consumer. They're paid by the importer or by the exporter. Ask yourself, if the consumer pays all the fees, then why do nations care about them? That's another big myth. I can make a video breaking that down. And there's a whole bunch of other ones. Let me know in the comments if you want that. But this is the goal, 15% of GDP by 2030. I think that's realistic. Number two, keep the U.S. dollar at 60% of global reserves. Currently, right now, it's at 59%. So this has been falling. It's been falling. You can see we were at 70 back in 1999, and we've gone from 70 down to 60 or 59% now. So that's been going down. The euro has kind of been going up and down. It's basically been sitting at about 20%, and then the rest is sort of broken down there. So the goal is let's just keep it where it's at. That's at about 59%, 60%. Then what we want to do is we want to rebuild the trading blocks, what we're calling a green block. And that'd be getting about 40% of the global GDP back in line with the U.S., under U.S. control, U.S. alignment, whatever you want to call that. So again, a lot of this, 40% of global GDP has gone to the BRICS, which is sort of centered around China. And can we get at least 40%, not an unreasonable number, 40% back to the U.S. control? And then at that point, then trade becomes a weapon, because the U.S. alone, just their trade imbalance with China isn't enough. China could just, okay, we just won't sell to the U.S. We'll find other people to buy our stuff. It's happened before. China used to buy the U.S. soybeans. They don't buy U.S. soybeans anymore. The U.S. found someone else to buy their soybeans. Like, that's how global trade works. So the U.S. alone isn't big enough. But if we get 40% of the global GDP, then we really have something. And at that point, loyalty becomes access. So the rest of the world, they do care about the U.S. buying their stuff. And the loyalty gives them access, not just access in trade. This is a bigger one. Access of U.S. dollars. That's what the world needs, is U.S. dollars. That's what the U.S. exports is U.S. dollars. And if you want that, access to the markets, but access to the U.S. dollars, swap lines, credit, then you want to align yourself with the new Mar-a-Lago Accords. Okay, now, is this possible? Maybe. Is there a lot of risk? Certainly. Are there a lot of unforeseen things and unintended consequences? Definitely. But there's already been a lot of groundwork that's been laid that I'm calling the hidden weapons. It's already happened. You already saw the news pieces come out, but maybe you didn't understand what was going on. So these hidden weapons allow this potential shift to the Mar-a-Lago Accord become much more likely. So let me break down what these hidden weapons are. First of all, there's 3 strategic pieces, executive orders, that the Trump administration has already put into place this year. Number 1, a Bitcoin strategy. Number 2, a digital asset strategy. And number 3, a stablecoin strategy. And that was all put together sort of at the same time, and most people probably didn't realize what the heck was going on and how all this works together. Well, it's basically an entire regime shift. All right, the Biden administration was extremely antagonistic to these 3 things: stablecoins, cryptocurrencies, tokens, Bitcoin, etc. But the Trump regime has been completely different. And they have a plan for all 3 of these to work together. So number 1, we have a bill that's going through. That's a Stablecoin Transparency and Accountability Act. It's called the Stable Act. The Stable Act. We have another one called the Genius Act. Then, of course, we have the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. So all of those are coming together. Now, why? Why is that important? Well, number 1, Trump wants America to do great. He wants the American people to have economic power to make money and save money. And so we have Bitcoin as a store of value. Number 2, we have the digital asset strategy, which allows companies to cut through all the regulation, pass all the SECs, pass millions of dollars for registration, and just go raise money quickly. Businesses, start them up, raise money, let's go, build these things out, and then ultimately the stablecoin strategy. Now, the stablecoin strategy is a strategic, probably a national security strategic advantage for the United States, which is to push U.S. dollar dominance around the world. Based off of this reordering that's going on, I will predict right now, live, I'm guessing 3 to 5 currencies won't make it past 2025. At the rate we're going. Currencies are blowing up left and right. If you're in Lebanon or Turkey or Argentina or Venezuela or Peru or whatever, you're suffering really, really high, if not hyperinflation in your currency. And so you have to get out of that lira or peso or whatever it is, and you want to get into the dollar. You're probably not scrambling into Bitcoin right now, you're scrambling into the dollar, but you can't get dollar. Your countries prohibit you from doing that. Capital control laws keep you from doing that, but you can get a token. You can get a US dollar stable coin token. So the world, not the countries, the people around the world want dollars badly. They can't get them. But through U.S. stable coins, they can. And so we've seen U.S. dollar stable coins blow up. We have over $250 billion of U.S. dollar stable coins out there. But that was under a hostile regime of the Biden administration attacking them. Now, Trump has made it an imperative to push this out as fast as possible. And so we'll get the US dollar out there. Remember, he wants it to stay at 60%. This is the secret weapon. We can see here just a chart and some stats. We can see, I said 250, it's actually 233 billion. Sorry, I made a mistake there. And we can see it's at USTD dominance of 61, almost 62%. So that's Tether makes up the majority of that basket. Okay, and then the other secret weapon that we have to make this more likely to happen. Again, the future is uncertain, but again, the groundwork has been laid. So this is what I'm calling MAIA, not MAGA, not MAHA, but instead make America investable again. So by doing some of these things, we want to make the dollar investable again. We want the country to be investable again. So a couple things that we're doing. Number one, energy dominance. You've heard Trump, drill baby drill, right? He wants to make America the dominant energy superpower in the world, which is super important because in order to build the future, we need energy. The wealth of every nation has always come down to the amount of energy they have, but as we move into the information age, the intelligence age, obviously the digital age, we need more and more and more energy, and we need it cheap. The opposite of what Germany has done to their own economy. So we can see here an executive order, again, laying the groundwork. President Trump establishes the United States Investment Accelerator, make America investable again. The investment accelerator. What does this do? It facilitates and accelerates investments above $1 billion. So if you want to spend a bunch of money in the United States and invest it into factories and things like that, over $1 billion, let's just cut all the red tape. Let's cut the yellow tape. Let's get all the gunk out of the gears and let's just fast track that thing. So we want to encourage companies to make large investments by one, reducing regulatory burdens. Get rid of the regulations. Number two, speeding up permitting. Let's just get those permits through. Why wait in 5 years to build a nuclear reactor, or in this case, 20 years? Let's get that through right now. Number three, coordinating responses to investor issues across multiple federal agencies. So we have to go through all these different agencies, things slow down. Let's just coordinate that, make it happen fast. Number five, facilitating collaboration with national laboratories. So let's again get that coordination, speed that up. Number six, working with all 50 state governments and their economic development organizations, in each case according to applicable law. So let's just get all 50 states together so you don't have to deal with each one by one, a process that could take years and years and years to do. And ultimately, the policy is to unleash economic prosperity. The investment accelerator, make America investable again. Now, again, we do that with energy dominance, deregulation, tax cuts. We have this. President Trump, another executive order, positions the U.S. superpower in manufacturing. And so we have right here, NVIDIA, the world's undisputed leader in chip making, says, per NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, having the support of an administration who cares about the success of this industry, specifically, listen, and not allowing energy to be an obstacle. So all these tech companies want to come here because Trump will not allow energy to be an obstacle. Superpower in manufacturing. Deregulation, cut out the red tape. In Trump's first term, he said for every new regulation, he'd get rid of 2. He ended up getting rid of 2.5. All right, there's a track record of doing this. Tax cuts, get rid of all the tax cuts. So if we bring lots of abundant, cheap energy, we get rid of all the regulations so they can build fast. We give them massive tax cuts and incentives to come. And then we open up the financial rails. Now we're talking. That's why we have almost $4 billion already committed to come back here, because he's making America investable again. And with the open financial rails, it allows even more of that. But there's one more piece to this. You see, right now, it's like, is China's currency, are their markets going to take away from the U.S.? Will oil be traded, other things be traded in the yuan? Will it be gold-backed, all that? So if we can make the dollar, make America very investable again, and at the same time put China on the ropes and make them devalue their currency to prop up and support their markets, then all of a sudden China is less investable while America is more investable at the same time. Are you seeing the global board here? Now, again, are there risks? Certainly. That's the stakes when you're playing for global supremacy. Now, chaos is negotiation. So again, back to where we originally started, a lot of people don't understand what's going on, and Trump seems erratic, and he causes a lot of chaos, and he doesn't seem like he's doing it. He waffles back and forth and all those things. Yeah, that's the strategy. You've heard about this over and over. None of you have probably taken the time to read it, but his book called The Art of the Deal. If you'd like to know about how to negotiate deals, you should read the book. Another one that's really good, I love, is Never Split the Difference. It's another book about negotiations. And so if you negotiate some of the biggest deals in the world, like Trump has done his whole career, or you're negotiating on behalf of like the FBI, like Chris Voss did and Never Split the Difference, you understand high-level stakes negotiation tactics. Now, one of the things that you do when you're negotiating a deal, not a car loan, not a house. We're talking high stakes like people's lives or, multi-billion-dollar deals. There's different tactics that you use. One of which that's frequently used is called anchoring. It's a psychological tactic. So, what you've heard from your mom or your dad or whatever, you've heard, never put the number out first, right? Because what if the other person throws out a higher or lower number? So okay, that's amateur hour. What real pros do is they use anchoring. Anchoring is where I set something so I control the narrative. I shift the window. So I'll throw out something extremely high and make them negotiate off of that. I want $10 billion. And then you settle at 10 million, and it sounds very reasonable. And so Trump doesn't cave. What he does is he anchors really, really high, like the whole world's going to get 50% tariffs. And they're like, whoa, 50%. And then he drops it, okay, 10. Well, 10 sounds much better than 50, right? So this is the art of the deal. This is anchoring. Agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you like that tactic or not. Again, the world's best negotiators in the world use it. But understand there's a strategy. That's the key piece. It's not erratic. It's not sporadic. It's intentional. So we have to understand that. Okay, now, what does all this mean to us? Now that you hopefully understand that there's a global chessboard and you understand the master plan. Again, is it guaranteed to work? Definitely not. In a complex system, the law of unintended consequences tells us there will be consequences to happen that we didn't plan for. So we know that. We know there's a lot of risk here, but what does it mean? Well, for us, we want to understand what the real game is. So hopefully you see this much clearer. And the reason why we want to do that is we can understand it's about money, it's about monetary power, it's about global dominance, and for us, mostly, it's for investment opportunities. So if we can start to see how money is going to start shifting around the world, well, we just go and get there before the money shows up. That's what investors do. And it allows us to then front run the future. It's like Wayne Gretzky said, skate to where the puck is going to be. We can front run the future. So what do we see out of this? Well, we see dollar rails being built up, US dollar stablecoins, digital tokens, things like that, and dollar dominance returning. We see Bitcoin returning in a really big way. And we see gold. You've been watching gold as well, because the global monetary system is being rebuilt. The fiat system has been exposed, the cracks have been shown, and that's not the future. This is the future, which is why it's taking off. We also want to front run the future of U.S.-aligned investments. Again, it's already coming. It's already announced. The groundwork is already laid. This is happening. We want to get there before the puck does. Okay? So the piece I'll leave you with is that we are not in a trade war, which it seems like. That's on the surface level. That's 1D. There's a monetary war. Control over the money, controls the world. The battlefield, unfortunately, is our portfolios. And you can choose to have your portfolio completely decimated, or you can choose to have your portfolio blow up as long as you understand the global chessboard and you don't allow politics and political ideology to get in your way. Now, if you want to know more about how I think China could potentially lose this, you might want to understand what their second fatal mistake is, and you can watch this video right here. Otherwise, if you want me to dive into any of these topics that we talked about, put it in the comments down below, and I'll expand on this. We'll make videos. We'll double click into that. Give me a thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. Either way, let me know. That's what I got. To your success, I'm out.